Hello, I'm Joe Welinske, Program Manager for ConveyUX, Seattle's annual UX conference, and that's coming up February 28th, March 1, and March 2 in Seattle. And I have the great chance to talk with a lot of our speakers. I'm speaking with one of our feature speakers today, Amber Case. Hello, Amber. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing well, thanks.
Well, I'm in my home office in Seattle today. Where are you talking to us from?
I'm talking to you from Somerville, Massachusetts, which is right above Cambridge, Massachusetts, and I'm in an attic room talking to you.
All right. Well, some people might be familiar with your work because you're visible on the web and give very interesting TED Talk, and you're a writer, but I thought I'd let you talk to us a little bit about your background and the nature of what you're involved with today.
Sure. I'll be giving two different talks at the conference. One is on calm technology, which is an antidote to the kind of panicked, interruptive technology that we experience all the time, every day in our lives. And that is based on a book that I just finished. I spent a year writing that, and that got released, and I've been on book tour with it. But the idea behind calm technology is that we're going to have at least 50 billion devices by 2020, and that the scarce resource in this century is not going to be our devices. It will be our attention. That is the thing that we have the least amount of. And so how can devices be built in a way that allows us to go back to being more human? We talk about automation all the time, but we don't want to automate hanging out with friends and family or watching a sunset. We want to have computers do things for us and alert us to them only when necessary, not when unnecessary. And so I've created, based on Mark Weiser and John Seely Brown's work from Xerox PARC, I've created a kind of modernized set of principles for how to design technologies, starting with a tea kettle that you set it, you forget it, and then it calls to you when it's done, and then you can go pick it up. Or just the idea of how much can you convey with a simple light or a simple tone. Why is the Roomba vacuum cleaner really liked by people? Well, because it doesn't say in a disembodied human voice, "I'm done." It goes dun da 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 or dun dun. And you can tell what that means without having to translate that into so many different languages. So that's what I'll be talking about for the workshop. And I'll be taking people through first how to create an object that's really annoying and complicated to replicate what we already have, and then how to calm that device down using a series of principles. The second thing that I'll be doing is giving a talk on privacy and security. And that the first thing I'll just tell everybody is to get a privacy policy. It's kind of a regret management tool. There are different ways to conserve someone's privacy or give away parts of their data as long as you tell them what it's being used for and where it gets stored. So there's a number of different tricks that people can apply to their software so that you can do what you want with people's data. But the key is to slice it up into separate pieces so that it's not just giving somebody permission that's all or nothing. Oftentimes it says, we want to use your photos, or we want access to your contacts, right, when you open an app. It's not you have a choice or not, it's all or nothing. So what can you do at the point of somebody sharing something, or the point of somebody wanting to access photos within the app? That's when you ask for those permissions, and that's when you tell people what those permissions will be used for, what that data gets used for. So I'll go over a lot of that in my talk, which is an evolution of a talk that I started giving at some privacy conferences in 2011. So it's been evolving over time. I like privacy and security as a subject. I don't think it should be boring. I think it should be exciting and interesting. Because if it is, then more people will work on it and consider it a notable part of product development.
And just to recap what that's going to be at the conference, you're going to be doing a half-day workshop on February 28th. That is on designing calm technology, and then you're going to be doing a session the following day as a feature for our full group called Designing for Privacy in Mobile and Web Apps. So yeah, we'll look forward to having you in the program for that. I'm sure you're always thinking about a lot of different things, and I was wondering what kinds of activities are currently tops on your list. What are some of the hot buttons that you're thinking about for future books and that type of thing?
Sure. I'm working on a book very quietly right now on sound design for products, just the sound design, because what I noticed when writing the book on Calm Technology is that maybe 30 or 40% of people that I talked to had issues, not necessarily with the object, but the way the alert sounded when they had the alert. So in some cases, you want a really obnoxious alert. You want a kind of annoying alarm clock sound so that it jars you awake. You want a very loud, very, very loud fire alarm because you want to wake somebody up. But if you have a washer or dryer that is in a small apartment or condo, like a lot of people are living in today, you don't want that thing to be really noisy. You want to buy a product based on how little it sounds. And when it's done, you're probably going to be in the same room with it. What happens if you come home and you want to run your laundry at 3 in the morning or your dishwasher? So I've encountered what's happening a lot is people are moving from these larger houses in the suburbs to these smaller places. And why you had really loud sounding washers and dryers and appliances in these larger houses is because they were far away. Often the washer and dryer was in the basement. It needed to be incredibly loud so you could hear it through the floorboards. But if you're in a really small place, the best thing you can do for your customers is allow a variable sound setting, or by default have it be quite low and allow people to turn it up. And this is really important. There are so many people that now are looking at buying things based on the quietness rating, energy usage and quietness rating. And so the question is how to make future products that do a good job of that. And it's a niche, but it's also something that we'll have to deal with a lot more as we have so many sounds in our lives. Or when to use a haptic buzz, which is also a sound. It's a vibration. When to use that versus using an audible tone. There's some cases in which I had an employee with an insulin pump, and the insulin pump made a beep, and he was so embarrassed by it because it would beep during films, it would beep during weddings and funerals, and he couldn't turn it off. He had no choice. And in that case, you need to be able to have a buzzer, right? You need to have a haptic vibration, because let's say he's at a really loud concert and he misses the beep, and then he's got an insulin issue, right? So it's a personal alert, therefore it should be a buzz. If a caretaker is taking care of somebody, then by all means that should be an audible tone so that the caretaker can take care of the person. But it's all contextual, and when you kind of think about where things are moving, you have to kind of future-proof your products and not make them super annoying. And we had, there's many examples of really annoying ringtones and things in the past that we all had to get used to. And now things are getting a little bit quieter. But there's all sorts of sounds in our environment that we don't really notice. And it works really well applied to offices. We have all these open layout offices with exposed concrete and columns, and the sound is reflecting off of all of these hard surfaces, and it's really making it difficult for us to focus. And so often the way to solve it is to turn on the sound canceling headphones. But there are actually, in the latest 99% Invisible podcast, there's actually, they interviewed some people where you could change the acoustics of the room. So you could have a fairly small room like this attic, and you could have speakers in it, and what you could do is you could change it so it sounded like a large auditorium or a concert hall. This is really exciting stuff. And how do you remove sound from an environment? How do you modify the sound? How do you make a space that's cozy or not? People love living in these minimalistic spaces, but they're not cozy. There's nowhere for the sound to absorb. Usually you put a big rug down, not just because it looks good, but it absorbs your sound. A big fluffy couch will do the same. Like, these are all based on coziness. So it'll be an interesting tour through some of those things, and then a series of principles for designing sounds. And then after that, there's a few other things I'm excited about, or rather annoyed with. One is consumer protection for Internet of Things devices. Consumers are not going to be the ones that set their passwords properly because they don't have enough time to do that, or it's just tedious to set up. It's not going to be regular. And so there should be some sort of consumer protection. I would love to see, like, underwriters' laboratories have some sort of certification. All Internet of Things must go through it, which means default really complex passwords, or how you're not accessing the web unless absolutely necessary, or it's going through cell. There's got to be some ways to prevent this from happening, because right now what hackers are doing is sending a message. They're saying, hey, these are insecure. Let's do a little hack to show people. Okay, no one cares. Let's do a slightly larger hack. Okay, no one cares. Let's do a really large hack where we're just taking out DNS and making it look like the internet is down through half the United States. No one gets hurt. Are people paying attention? Yeah, a little bit. So the question is, what happens with the next attack? How far will people need to go to get to a Titanic effect for regulators or consumer protection agencies to take notice? So I'm always kind of wondering about that. I have the privilege of being with Bruce Schneier at the Berkman Center and being able to talk with him about these things. So that's really exciting to me. Yeah. So I guess the third thing is lithium ion batteries. They keep exploding, and we have kind of reached a limit to what we can put into them. If we want to keep miniaturizing things, we need to work on battery technology and improving that.
Well, that's a lot of things for us to think about, and look forward to hearing about that from you at the conference. Thank you again for taking the time to talk with me and the people who have watched this, and we'll see you when you get here to Seattle.
Yeah, see y'all soon. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Amber. Bye-bye.